Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. Thank you for downloading episode 296. We're so close to 300, and we are working on something for 300. This week we have Britt versus Swift. Bobby. Don't mess with Elon. Education dollars. Evangelicals and endorsements. Shove the shot. Hall and Oats. A very hard video to watch, which is not funny at all. And the mess under the Gold Dome. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor, Ken Pullen.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn good. Anytime I get to spend time with family, it's good. My niece came down from Maryland with her two boys, so yes,
oh, nice.
My grandnephews. My sister came up with my youngest niece, who's 18, and I may take her shooting later on today.
Ah, sweet. Yeah, we had Luke come into town first time since he came home since he went to college, and he also turned 19 on today. So we had a nice little Thanksgiving meal with him.
Well, that's the whole idea. That's
mm-hmm.
The meal itself is, of course, the food's good and all that stuff and all that, but the meal's secondary to the family getting together.
Yeah, just spend some time together. I did see where you saw my Facebook post where we got assaulted by a toddler at a Mexican restaurant. Look, we were at this kind of the backstories. We were at this was the day before Thanksgiving, but we were at one of the cheap Mexican restaurants in town. Great food, but it's the cheapest Mexican restaurant to go to. We sat down in this booth with my family and my mom, and this little 2 or 3 year old toddler just kept peeking through, like just coming over, not trying to come over the booth into our booth. He kept making all these noises. And this I recorded 30 seconds and put it out on Facebook, but this lasted 10, 15 minutes. And the whole time I'm thinking, what type of parents let their toddler just disrupt somebody else's meal?
Dude,
who does that?
I got my butt beat many a time. You and I are the same. We grew up on airplanes. But if I kick the seat in front of me, you better believe there was a hand coming across. I mean, pow! Don't do that.
Right. I know, me too. Yeah. I mean, if I ever did anything disrespectful. Right?
And I love my father. But he was not for shenanigans.
No, my dad either, and he worked at Delta, so there was no misbehaving on flights.
Oh, absolutely
growing
not.
up. I mean, you could never do that. But yeah, this little toddler just kept going and going and going until they finally left. And
well, no, they didn't leave. You said very specifically in the post that they finally needed a cigarette.
Yeah, they finally. Yeah, I think that was the point, because when they stood up behind us, the woman said, "I need a cigarette," and the guy said something that you don't need to be smoking because it's bad for your health. And she said, "I don't do it because it's for my health. I do it because I like to smoke." So we all found that very amusing.
Good Lord.
Yes, I know. It's funny.
So we have Biden, who turned 81 the day before, a couple days before Thanksgiving. He doesn't know the difference between Britney and Swift.
I know. He was ad-libbing or something. Went off the ranch and was trying to talk about Taylor Swift and said Britney Spears.
Yeah, she's down
in regards to.
Yeah, she's down in Brazil right now, and it's really hot. I'm like, that's Taylor Swift. All right, so Uncle Joe, if you're listening, the difference between the two is Britney has shown her hoo-hoo and Swift has not.
That is a good difference, yeah. I mean,
and God bless her, because Britney is very attractive.
Britney's crazy at this point, though. Some of the things she does with the knives and all the little TikTok videos she makes, she's having a hard time.
Dude, do you think that crazy means you're not attractive? Crazy?
No, I mean, a lot of times they go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love the crazy ones. Oh. I mean, you don't want to marry the crazy one, but oh yeah, the crazy ones are fun as hell.
It's the Hot Crazy Matrix. If you haven't seen the Hot Crazy Matrix,
Oh, absolutely. That was that's a classic. But
every young kid needs to watch that. Every young boy needs to watch that.
She is absolutely above an 8 crazy and above an 8 hot. You don't want to marry this. That's the fun zone. You don't want to marry this one, but she'd be fun as hell.
Oh, that's funny.
But it kind of, he was trying to relate to young people, and it fell flat. Much like my jokes last week that absolutely fell flat.
So you're not well known in Georgia politics?
No, that was the joke. That was the joke. I actually got a shirt. It has the National Defense Service Medal on it. Okay, for those who don't know, the National Defense Service Medal is a participation medal. Everybody gets it. Everybody. Across all services, everybody gets it. Well, they used to. It ended earlier this year. But everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. So it has the National Service Defense Medal on it, and it goes, I'm kind of a big deal. It's a participation medal, but that's the joke I make about myself, and the joke fell absolutely flat.
Yeah, I thought you were serious. I did. I apologize,
dude. You think my ego is actually that big?
I don't know. I mean, I let you go with it. I really did.
You did. You did. You let me hang myself with it too.
So what else did Biden do this week?
So Biden is losing celebrity endorsements, including Cardi B, which I call Cardi Double D.
Yeah, but she's not going to Trump's side. That's what I mean. Cardi B's still going to vote for Trump. I mean, vote for Biden.
It's not that. Is that she does this video, and she's got something on her head. Like a hair cap or something on her head, and she's in a robe with no clothes on underneath, and she's losing her stuff over Biden, which is fine.
Why is that? Is it the Palestinian stuff or is it something else?
It's everything but the Palestinian thing. I mean, okay. It's not that she's mad about the Palestinian thing. She's mad about the economy and everything else. How it's hurting working people, and obviously, when it boils down to her is when you hurt working people, they can't afford to buy tickets to your damn show.
Yep, that makes sense.
But it's not just her. I mean, The Rock came out on the Rogan show. I mean, it's a lot of people who endorsed him last time around because they didn't like the mean tweets or the Orange Man. They're actually coming out and saying, "Look, Biden let us down."
I think they realize Trump has got. I mean, I've always thought Trump could beat Biden, but I'm kind of turning the page now, and I think that's what they're starting to realize is Trump is probably going to beat Biden next year, and they want the Democrat Party to ditch Biden and get somebody else, like anybody. I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? It's just anybody at this point is better for them.
Yeah, at this point, you or I could run on the Democratic ticket.
Yeah, I mean, they want Gavin Newsom or, I mean, I don't think it even matters at this point. I think it's any Democrat.
Man, he is so out of touch.
I know.
And look, I've said before that Biden has never been the sharpest tool in the shed.
Right.
But his political acuity has been very, very high. He's been able to work his way in political circles, yep. And now he's just not.
Yep, I know.
And this is not me insulting him. I actually feel sorry for the man. Yep. It's gotten to the point where 20 years ago I would have felt sorry for Biden. I would like screw that guy and all, especially when he was working towards the weapons ban and stuff like that. That's a screw that guy.
Right.
But at this point, it's sad.
I know it is. It really is.
But more on the moron, he doesn't understand how generating heat works.
Oh, that's funny.
They're kicking a bunch of money for generating for heat
I
pumps.
saw that out of
And
the
look,
special like wartime budget too. It's the craziest spot that he's pulling it from. The Emergency Powers Act is where he's pulling this money to build heat pumps, right?
yeah, and I'll tell you firsthand, heat pumps are great.
Yeah, I've got one.
So do I. I've got hybrid heat in my house. I've got a heat pump for when it's mildly cold and gas backup. Here's the deal. If you live in, I don't know, Michigan, heat pumps aren't much good
That's right.
for you.
You don't have them up north.
The hybrid stuff is great, but you need that gas backup.
Right.
If it brings the prices down for heat pumps, great, which I don't think it will. But it's he doesn't understand how heat is generated. You have to burn fossil fuels to generate heat. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's wood in your fireplace. It's not truly fossil fuel, but you're still burning fuel to put wood in your fireplace, or it's heating oil, or it's natural gas, or hell, if it's electricity, right. You're still burning fossil fuels to heat your home. It's the only way to do it. You can't replace, a gas furnace with just a heat pump without having a coil, what we call heat coils, which are very, very low efficiency. It's just a hair dryer. The air handler is just a hair dryer. So if you try to do that up north, you try to do that in Montana, I mean, you're going to spin the meter like crazy.
Well, I mean, this piggybacks all this stuff around. This is, to me, this kind of goes into where they were trying to ban gas stoves. Also, I don't know if we've talked about this a couple times, where the government's trying to ban gas stoves for people because it contributes to global warming per se and hurting the environment. And then Kamala Harris, the VP, posed in front of a gas stove with her and her husband on Thanksgiving Day. She was taking a lot of heat for that. Every single comment on her Twitter,
so to speak.
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah, but every single comment was about you're trying to ban gas stoves and you take a photo in front of a gas stove. I mean, it's just the whole policy up there is a mess.
It looks like we're getting some hostages released from Hamas.
Yeah, so good news. I mean, this is good news for Biden, and this will be interpreted. I mean, he'll take the, he'll really brag about this. But it looks like there's going to be a 4-day ceasefire, which when the show drops, we should be in day 2 or 3 of the ceasefire. They're going to Hamas is going to release about 50 of the 240 hostages that they've got. And then Israel's going to free about 150 Palestinian prisoners. So there's going to be a temporary ceasefire, it looks like. And then some hostages are going to be swapped. Now, I don't know how many American hostages are coming back home at this point, but I know Biden over the last week has been touting that he's been on the phone and has been a big part of this negotiation. I'm not sure I believe that or not, but that's what.
Of course,
that's what he's
true.
That's what he's been touting.
Yeah, of course it's not true. Of course, Biden was not. And look, it could be his administration. It could be his administration, which is fine. But if you're in Qatar and you get a phone call from Biden and he's rambling nonsensically, I mean, are you actually? No, it's Qatar is working on behalf of the Palestinians. Right. They're getting the better end of this trade. I will be very curious to see what kind of condition these women and children are in.
Hopefully good. I mean, one of the little girls I saw that is supposed to be part of this, she's under 5 years old, and her dad was killed when the Hamas invaded Israel. She's lost her entire family, and she's one of them that's supposed to be, potentially released. So it's going to be shocking when we see what condition, like you said, the prisoners are in, or what they have to go back to at this point.
There is no there's no silver lining for somebody like that. Obviously, being released is the best outcome, but yes, you're coming home to nobody. It's the same thing for the other women and children. Is they're coming home to nobody.
So sad.
God knows what's happened to these poor children and women while they're in captivity. I'm not even going to speculate. Even speculating brings a tear to my eye. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. We'll have an update next week on that. See how many prisoners actually get out.
So we have Bobby Jr. is A-OK with the voters.
Yeah, you shared this story. He's got. It's harder not to have higher favorability ratings than Trump or Biden at this point. But it sounds like people like him better at this point than the other major candidates.
But does likability equal electability? Right. Look. I like Bobby too. I mean, I think I think Eric put it best when he said, he is top of the I'd have a beer with that guy matrix. But to get people to actually pull out of their party to go vote for him, I just don't see it. And look, I like Bobby too. I don't like all of his policies, but I think he's. And I said the same thing about Obama and Clinton is. I'd love to have a beer with them. I mean, they seem like they're good guys, and it'd be fun to have a beer with them. But I'm not going to vote for them.
Yeah, that's why I don't trust any of the polls at the moment. I think after the Republicans pick their nominee, March, April of next year, and it's truly Trump against Biden, I think that's when we'll see the true polls come out. I don't think we have a good indication.
Yeah, that's when the rubber hits. Yeah, that's when the rubber hits the road.
Fired up when they're running against Trump versus some other person. We'll see what the polls look like then.
Well, it's not just the Republicans. It's going to be the soccer moms, the independents. What we've seen is a huge migration of the independents away from Biden. And people like me are realizing that my bank account sure did look good under Trump.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, though. I mean, can people vote past the mean tweets and vote for the economy versus what is going on at the moment? And who knows where the economy goes to by next November? There's a lot of indications out there. It could be soft landing. We don't have a recession, and there's other people that are really pumping the idea of, the market could go down and more job losses and stuff like that. So,
well, the market and the economy are two different things.
They are,
and
totally.
Well, and people conflate the two. Is they think the market is directly related, which it is sort of related. But it's not. You can have a very strong market and have a recession. So, anyway, we have Don't F with Elon.
Goodness, how about
Media Matters put out a story, a false story. They absolutely created this story that X, which was formerly known as Twitter, has a bunch of white supremacists on it, or Nazis on it. So what they did was they followed a bunch of Nazi pages or whatever.
And they created fake profiles also as part of this.
Yeah, they created fake profiles, and they kept refreshing until they got an ad that matched it, and then took a screenshot and ran the story that Twitter's being overrun by Nazis.
Yep, and they did all this. They orchestrated this entire thing to make Twitter, or X, formerly Twitter, and Elon Musk look bad and say you've got all this pro-Nazi content. And what they want to do is say all this pro-Nazi content's on Twitter, and they send it around to advertisers, and then their hope was advertisers would start leaving a platform. And Elon found out about it, right? So Elon finds out about this, and now he is actually suing Media Matters for doing this. And the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton also, which this is bigger than the Elon lawsuit. I think the Elon lawsuit's a civil matter, but the Texas Attorney General also said they're opening up a criminal investigation into Media Matters for how they were manipulating the platform and using it against Elon. So I think that's going to be the bigger news out of this is Media Matters may have got caught with their pants down on this.
Elon has so much money that he can afford to lose money. Like say he gets $100 million in the lawsuit.
Yeah, that doesn't.
He doesn't care. If it costs him $200 million to get $100 million, he doesn't care. But the fact is, Media Matters is a scumbag organization.
They're one of the worst.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely scumbag. I say that openly. Yep. They are scumbags. They have, but they really, really stepped on their peckers here.
They did.
So, Kenny, I'm moving along because we did actually have a good news week. Take your education dollars and shove it.
This was interesting. So the Tennessee legislature was looking into, and this has always been a debate that I think needs to occur at the state level, and even in Georgia, is to say, these states they take all these federal dollars and they come with strings attached, and it goes from education, transportation, across the board. Healthcare is the same way, that there's always strings attached if you take these federal dollars. And the Tennessee legislature was doing a study, and I don't know if it's going to go through now or not, but they were thinking about rejecting over $1 billion in federal funds that come in to, for education in the state of Tennessee.
And I respect the idea a hell of a lot. I mean, people have no idea how federal dollars work. Is federal dollars come with strings,
especially education.
I mean,
transportation is one of the worst too.
Dollars.
Yeah, I've always heard transportation is really bad.
Yeah, when we went to 55 mile per hour zone, our speed limit, that was from the federal government, and the feds didn't come down and say it must be 55 miles an hour. The federal government doesn't have the authority. However, they say if you want our money, you will set your speed limits at 55 miles an hour. The same goes with the drinking age. Louisiana was one of the last, as I recall, one of the last to recognize to say that is if you wanted highway dollars, you had to set your you had to set your drinking age to 21, and Louisiana was one of the last. Because if you recall, and I think it's just outside of you and me as far as our times on this earth go. But there was a time where it was 18 to drink, and it was and all that stuff. And there was a time where it went from 18 to 21. But if you had ex post facto, if you were 18 before a certain date, then you were in. But it's all about that federal. It's all about.
And
we're
going to talk a little bit about this in a story in a few minutes. But it's interesting that the states are starting to do this, and I mean, it's I've always, when I was even in office, people would say, why would you not take federal dollars, right? Why would you not take all this free money from the feds? And they don't realize they're just taking their own tax dollars at that point, and the federal government's borrowing funds to give you back money at the state level. So, yeah, I think if more states banded together and stopped taking federal dollars, it would be a really good first sign into cutting down on the overall scope of the federal government, right? I mean, the Department of Education, I think we would both agree it needs to be abolished at the federal level. And if you stop doing this kind of stuff, it would be more likely to happen.
Well, it needs to be abolished at the
federal
state level
first.
too.
Yeah,
small steps. So we have DeSantis picked up a significant endorsement.
He did. So he's surging in Iowa, it sounds like. I mean, Yeah, he's picked up this Iowa evangelical leader Bob Vanderplatz endorsed DeSantis uh, last Tuesday, so about a week ago, which is the second major endorsement he's received in the state. I don't know if you remember, but Kim Reynolds, their popular Republican governor, also endorsed DeSantis. So he's got some real key endorsements in Iowa. The question is, will that translate over to the Trump voters, right? And
the votes.
You still got Nikki Haley out there. You've got Trump big in Iowa. I don't think. Yes.
Well, I have.
Does it matter?
I have a big question because the endorsement picked up is from a big time evangelical. Should religious leaders be making endorsements?
That is a great question. And the older I get, the more I think, no, they need to just stick with their lane. And I go to a church where the pastor is very political. I mean, and when I say very political, I mean, Governor Kemp comes through a couple times a year. Congressmen come through. The July 4th festivities we have every year is kind of a stomping ground for all the people running for like next year or 2 years from now. All the state level guys will come through. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones is a member of the church. So our pastor is very, very religious. Should they make endorsements or not? I mean, I think you set yourself up for disappointment by doing that. I don't know. Probably say no though.
It's not that. To me, it's about right and wrong. I have no problem with a pastor allowing people to come in and talk.
Yeah, but
I mean,
they don't
anybody
let
can come and talk.
Parties come in to talk. That's part of it also. Both churches do this. I mean, black churches don't let Republicans come in and speak. They let Stacey Abrams come in to speak. My church doesn't let Stacey Abrams come in to speak, but lets Governor Kemp come in to speak. I mean, should that be occurring at the local church level?
Well, it's
not.
It's not a legal question.
Ethical.
It's not a legal question.
You've got people in the church
it's not a legal question. It is
you're potentially.
ethical.
I mean, you got people in church that probably vote up both ways. Also, I don't know if it's a tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I would prefer an apolitical church.
And I don't know how any church. Look, I voted for Trump every time, and I'll vote for him again in the general election next year. But I think pastors that endorse Trump really look bad because he is not a very religious person at all, and with his past.
It's not just that. Is Sunday morning should be
I agree.
apolitical.
Nothing wrong with telling people to vote.
Talking about Jesus.
Nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, Tuesday is the vote. Get out and vote." But I got you. Anything more than that, I think.
Yeah, well, that's
on.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's a community announcement. We have a potluck on Monday. Be sure to vote on Tuesday. Whatever. We've got Bible study on Wednesday.
Yep.
Whatever. That's just a community announcement. But to go and endorse an individual candidate, especially in a primary, I think it's self-defeating. One, and the other thing is, I think it drives people away from Christ.
A bad taste in their mouth.
What we want in the church is to bring people in, and it's all people in is to bring them into the glory of Christ, is to bring them in. And then you're gonna try to drive a wedge by endorsing an individual candidate or even a team. It's the same thing I've said about Warnock for a long time. Is I think that he's a pimp. He whores out. With Jesus or anything else, he does whatever he has to say to get to get votes. But we have Army says, "Baby, come back.
Nice.
You can blame it all on me."
Yes, I guess recruiting is way down over the past year or so, and part of it, I think, had to do with the COVID requirements on the vaccine. Now, Dave, during COVID, if you didn't want to get vaccinated, you had to leave the Army, right? And now they're telling those people they can come back. Please come back. Yep, not just can, please come back.
But please.
Yep.
I mean, they sent letters to a couple thousand recently separated veterans saying,
I'm surprised there weren't more than, there probably were more, but this letter went out to about 1,900 active duty soldiers who were separated for refusing to get vaccinated. Yeah, I think the military is just having a hard time recruiting at the moment, and they're probably recruiting good people too that want to come fight for them, and also people that are in well enough shape to probably come fight for them.
Hey, it's not just that. Is there are very specialized jobs in the Army, and the other forces too. But for instance, what I did for a living, I was in psychological operations. There are very few people who qualify to do that. You have to have language skills, in which I had to pass what's called the D Lab, Defense Language Aptitude Battery. So you have to have language skills. You have to have the ability to go airborne. You have to have, you have to have all this stuff just to get in that job. And that's one job of thousands in the Army. You start talking about military intelligence, start talking about, all these specialized jobs, and they kick them out for not wanting a shot.
Please come back.
And now the Army's like, no, baby, come back. Yeah, come on. We're not requiring it anymore. Come on.
Really?
But they're not offering back pay. Really? So they're not offering back pay. It's not like we'll bridge your time. They're just asking you to come back. I've been out so long that they haven't asked.
You haven't got the letter?
I'm old, fat, and broken.
I think
no one's asked me to come back. So on the musical theme, we have Hall tells Oats.
Yeah, and
I can't go for that.
You were kind of upset earlier when I told you Hall and Oats was before my time.
But it's not. I mean, it may not. You may not have been into easy listening, and that kind of thing. But Hall and Oats is iconic. I mean,
Man-Eater is a
Man-Eater.
good song. These guys are 77 and 75 now, so they are still going strong at this point in their life. Yeah, so they petitioned Howell petitioned a court for a restraining order against Oats up in Nashville, Tennessee, which was promptly granted the following day to the presiding judge. I'm surprised the judge approved this restraining order. I mean, it's not like a physical type thing. It sounded like Oates was out there performing a series of solo shows earlier this month, and he was singing Howell's joint hits, right? So Oates is out trying to do a solo career, and Howell doesn't want him to do that, is what this is stemming from.
Well, he was doing it. Now, this sounds cool. I mean, it really does sound cool. He was doing a reggae version of their anthology. So anybody who's a Led Zeppelin fan, who's heard Dread Zeppelin, a reggae version of like I Can't Go For That would be awesome. But the fact is that it was those songs were written by one of them, not both of them. They both performed, but it's one of those things where it was, if I write it, I own it. It's mine. You and I could be on the same album together singing it, but when I write it, it's mine. So I get what he's doing. I just don't understand why it couldn't be a phone call.
Forever. Yeah, this seemed. Yeah, I get you.
It's just one of those things. It's like when you hear about family squabbles going to court.
And they are family.
Just make a phone call. Well, Kenny, there's no easy transition to this. This was a very hard video to watch. It really was. I mean, I
didn't see it. My mom
I
asked
watched
me
it
about
after
this first,
Thanksgiving.
I haven't even seen it yet, and I looked it up. But back on August 10th, a deacon in his church, his last name's Holman, got into an accident near Cunningham and Joseph E. Lowry Boulevards up in Atlanta. He actually calls 911 to put a report in for the accident. The Atlanta police officer came out and said he was actually at fault and tried to issue the deacon a citation. But, Holman refused to sign a ticket. You can see the video. This is all on the video. He grew really agitated and uncooperative, which I don't know about you, Dave, but if somebody ran into me, I thought I was not at fault, and an officer comes out and tries to give me a ticket for it, I would be a little upset also.
Yeah, but I'm not upset. All right.
Yes.
Everybody involved is an asshole. The deacon should have just signed the ticket and fought it out in court. But the sign it or I'm going to sign it or I'm going to take you to jail is a little tough. Now I want to make sure that people know this is a black officer. He played football in Alabama A&M. He's not a bad guy. He had a bad moment, and unfortunately, when you're a police officer, bad moments involve beating the hell out of people and tasing them. But at one point, the guy's like, "Why are you doing this? I'm an old man." He's 60-something years old.
Yeah.
I mean, but he keeps threatening with a taser, like popping it so he can hear it, and finally he tases the guy. And he's laying on. The guy says, "I can't breathe," which everybody says, "I can't breathe" when they're being kneeled on. And that's a very tough thing for an officer. It's very tough because everybody says, "I can't breathe." Yeah,
but he tased him. He went down to the ground, and then he ends up dying as part of this altercation. Now, again, this happened back on August the 10th. So a lot of times I wonder how these things stay under wraps for so long and they don't come out. But now
because
the coroner
was an active
or the medical examiner ruled this a homicide. I don't know if you saw that. So they didn't rule this an accident, or they ruled this a homicide. This officer, I think, is going to be charged with murder or with manslaughter, whatever the appropriate crime will be.
Well, the fact that Fanny released this video,
he's going to be charged, and look, he's going to jail. And I mean, this is it.
And look, I after watching the video,
you have to de-escalate this situation somehow.
I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, no.
Yeah, all he had to do. Well, first of all, he got fired for violating policies when he says, "Hey, I'm not going to sign it." The policy is to get a supervisor out there.
Yep.
And he didn't do that, so he violated policy. That's why he was fired. But yeah, this is not going to be good.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and merge him into the Mule of the Week.
I think he takes it. And you're right. This was a black police officer, and the deacon was black also. You haven't heard a lot about this in the news, but it is a terrible story.
No, you haven't heard a lot about it because it's a black officer and a black motorist. But to me, it's not
It
black
is
and
a state
white. To me, it is
versus
state versus individual. And now, was this guy out of hand?
No, he wasn't dangerous
Yes.
at all.
Was he
was not gonna
dangerous?
hurt
No.
anybody. He needed to call reinforcements out. He needed to call a supervisor out and de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, and he absolutely was out of hand. Am I saying the preacher was acting correctly? No, he wasn't. But did he deserve to be thrown on the ground, have a knee put in his back, and be tased? Absolutely not. No, you needed a third person, like you said, to de-escalate, come in and go, all right, look. And I know the officer did try and say, look, this does not mean that you're admitting guilt. This is just an acknowledgement that I'm giving you a court date. And that's what it is when you sign a ticket. It's not an admission of guilt. It's just saying that I will show up on whatever date to answer for it, or I'll pay my fine beforehand. But old dude lost his stuff. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been charged with resisting or anything else. I just don't think he deserved to be slammed to the ground, have a knee put in his back, and tased.
And look, I know you said he was we're going to make him the middle of the week, but not to move on. But I saw that this was a close second. I don't know if you saw the Macy's Day Parade in New York City over Thanksgiving Day.
I did not. I was, oddly enough, I was out of my big green egg with my feet up.
Let me paint this picture to you real quick. Pro-Palestinian activists were trying to block the parade. They glue themselves to the ground, including their hands, to the pavement in New York. So then the police come out, and they are literally pulling this guy off the pavement with his hands glued to the ground. And he has the most hideous scream you've ever heard. So can you just imagine your hand being ripped off the pavement in New York? So this is probably who the mule should be. This pro-Palestinian activists actually gluing themselves to the ground? I can't imagine what this guy's hands look like.
Do you know what I would do to somebody if they glued their hands and their feet? I mean, the first thing I would do is rip their pants down. I mean, let me see how good the glue is. Just stick a finger in your butthole. I mean, I know the police cannot do that, but it would be hilarious. Like, oh, you glued yourself in the doggy position?
No.
Well, let me help you out. But I'm an a-hole. So the Georgia Assembly, which meets as we're recording, or as this show drops, as we're meeting, how could they screw up something so simple?
Okay, so you're going to give me some background on this. This is to do with the prosecuting attorneys bill that they passed last year to try to be able to step in and basically kick out district attorneys that were doing things that they didn't like. That's what this is. This is what this is about. And the Georgia Supreme Court last week ruled that it would not approve any rules and regulations for the new state commission empowered to sanction these prosecutors. So the law that they passed last year in the General Assembly back in early 2023 is when it was passed. It's basically mute at this point.
Well, no, now the
but
Supreme
they
Court
wouldn't
said
sanction
leave us out
the rules. They wouldn't approve the rules, so there's nothing they can do at this point. Yeah, they said leave us out of it. So there's nothing
they said leave us out of it.
So that bill is
And the original bill from the Senate said it didn't have the Supreme Court in it, and it was something that the House put in.
Yeah, the Supreme Court just says they don't have the constitutional power to take any action to draft these standards and rules. And they said, by deciding, this is a quote, but deciding the question whether we actually have the power would require deciding difficult constitutional questions of first impression outside of the adversarial process. Yeah, I mean, this was drafted originally for Dick Donovan up in your way, but then since then there's been efforts to use this for Fonnie Willis, and even I think the district attorney over in the Athens, Clark County circuit. I don't know if we ever thought anything would actually go through. It was kind of like a stick, right? It was like, okay, we can do this if you get out of line, but at this point, nothing's going to happen unless they go back and repass a law again without the Supreme Court in it.
Well, they're going to have to
I don't think they will,
go back to the Senate version of the law.
Mess with this again. I think it's done. And maybe that was a poison pill anyway. I just wonder if people knew that by putting the Supreme Court in, it would render the bill useless. I wonder if there's more to this than we're seeing.
I think there is. The Supreme Court didn't say you can't do this. What
Right.
they said was leave us out of it. I think that's a very important distinction to make. Is the Supreme Court didn't say you can't have a review board. What they said was leave us out of it, and that's a huge distinction. I don't know if they'll revisit it, this being an election year and all that stuff. You know what? They just might. As contentious as the stuff is with Fannie Willis and all that stuff,
up in your area
they just might.
I think he was one of the sponsors. Yeah, he was one of the sponsors of this.
Well,
bill,
he's my representative. Yeah,
maybe we check with Joseph and see if if there's thoughts now of readdressing this. They won't do it during a special session, like you said. It's just starting. They've got to redraw all the maps over the next week. But maybe this comes back up in January again to look at again.
I hope it does, because I'm not opposed to an oversight board. I'm not opposed to this idea of having an oversight board
by the legislature. I think it's a huge abuse of power.
It is, unless, again,
but voters
you
can
have a Dick
always
Donovan.
recall people, or they could always not vote for him again. But you don't have to vote for him.
No,
again.
you can't.
You can't recall a sheriff.
But he's in for 4 years.
I know, but you can. I mean, if it's
you
bad
can, but
enough,
it's almost impossible to do.
Or if he's done something wrong, the attorney general can bring charges against him. I mean, there's no reason the attorney general and governor can't take action. Yeah, no, but I'm just saying there's other ways besides the General Assembly getting involved in this stuff, because General Assembly's partisan at the end of the day. I mean, it's all partisan.
The frustration came. Oh yeah, but here's the thing: is COVID happened. Like the Dick Donovan stuff, the only way to remove him from office currently is to impeach him. And it works the same way as a presidential impeachment, that the House passes a resolution and then the trial is held in the Senate. It's exactly the same as it is for a president. The problem was that, and the frustration comes out, that this was all going to happen, then COVID happened. 2020 happened. And that's the frustration that everybody out here had, is that Dick is getting away with it just because of COVID.
That's a bad excuse.
And by the time that he actually stepped down,
COVID, when everything shut down.
Well, yeah, but the clock never stopped ticking towards his retirement. By the time he actually stepped down, he got his retirement. Dick is sitting very happily right now. Yeah, he had to give up his law license, but he's 77 years old.
I doubt if they do. I think they're just going to let this go. I really do. I think this was their effort. I think this is their statement that they've made. It's gotten pretty much struck down at this point. It's unenforceable. I think they let it go.
Maybe so. But we also see that they're
really
wanting to expand
Medicaid. This has been a
Medicaid.
big topic at the state level for quite a few years. Has to do with the federal funds coming in again. But if Georgia did a full scale expansion of Medicaid up under Obamacare, then they would have to contribute. I think the number is $300 or $400 million a year, and then they would get additional federal funds coming in for Medicaid. Republicans have never really been serious about expanding Medicaid in Georgia, but a couple of weeks ago they had their first ever hearing at the state capitol to discuss full Medicaid expansion. And what I really thought was very, very interesting is the Speaker of the House, John Burns, actually attended the hearing and sat in the front row and listened in. So, speakers of the House don't do stuff like that just to be dropping in, listening to a committee. That was a sign, right? So I think, and what people say, Georgia's got this huge surplus in funds. And what Democrats are saying is Georgia's got a $3 or $4 billion surplus in funds. Why don't we take $400 million out and expand Medicaid? Now, the challenge there is, sure, they've got it this year, but what happens if the economy goes down or we don't have the same state level funds 3, 4, 5 years from now? And then also our cost of expanding Medicaid will continue going up every year. So I think it's short-sighted, but Georgia's one of only the 10 states that have not done this so far. So we're kind of on the sidelines here with expanding Medicaid. Almost every other state has.
And of course, this is coming in an off election year.
And I think Republicans probably the state are looking at this, going, if we expand Medicaid and pick up another, the people that don't have health care at the moment, could that be what we need in the election next year, right?
Well, they're trying to remove an arrow.
This
from
is kind of like
Democrats'
giving teacher
quiver.
raises, though. Teachers don't vote. Most teachers don't vote Republican. Just because you give them a $3,000 raise doesn't mean they're going to start voting for Republicans.
Well, no, yeah. Kemp is known for trying to buy off teachers and like that. Sorry,
but one of the other things they're talking about
Sorry.
doing here is we've talked a lot about certificate of need legislation, how they need to get rid of the certificate of need in Georgia. So I think what the legislators are saying is, what if we expanded Medicaid and at the same time we got rid of the certificate of need? So I think that's how they're going to politically do it, is they're going to be able to say, yes, we are going to expand Medicaid, which is more state spending, but we got rid of certificate of need, so we'll be able to open up more hospitals around the state of Georgia. So I think that's how they're going to get off. I think that's how they're going to justify expanding Medicaid.
Maybe so. I would like to see certificate of need gone. The problem being, and we've discussed it on the show before, these hospitals, Wellstar for one, are huge donors.
Yeah, I mean, they're the lobbyist industry for the hospital association is huge. It's the biggest at the state capitol. So I don't know. I just think with John Burns sitting in on that committee hearing, I think it probably gets done this session. And I forget how many people this will apply to. But it actually basically lets people up to 138% of the federal poverty level get health care at that point.
The access to health care is the problem, not the money. Now, I'm not saying that the poor people shouldn't have access to health care. I'm just saying when you live down, I visited Jessica not long ago. When you live down in Statesboro, your closest trauma places is in Savannah, which is an hour away. I mean, it's simple for little things. Like I cut the snot out of my hand the other day. And being on blood thinners just because I'm old and fat, it was bleeding. It was bleeding like crazy. And I took everything myself. But if I really did need stitches, I have 5 different places I can go and get a
South
stitch.
Georgia is completely different. But I mean, just expand it.
But
Democrats are saying they'll build more hospitals if we expand Medicaid. I'm not sure. Hospitals, that's not true at all. Yeah.
That's not even close to being the truth. Yeah, it's not even close. The fact is hospitals are for-profit entities. And God bless them. I mean, I want them to be for-profit entities, but if you're a state, they're not going to build a hospital in Statesboro just because Medicaid get expanded. That's just not the case. All right, Kenny.
Well, we went to movies as a family the other day, and we actually split up. So my daughter and wife went and saw the new Hunger Game movie, which they said was really good. Libby was in a couple of the Hunger Game movies as an extra, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when they first came out. Luke and I went to see the new Napoleon movie, and I don't want to give it away.
Which I really want to see.
Sort of strange. Luke really liked it. I thought there was a lot of comedy in the movie, which I thought was unusual for a Ridley Scott kind of war movie. It's just the way they paint Napoleon in the movie. He's very autistic, a real short guy. But it's he was short in the movie. He
really was not that short. They called him. Yeah, they called him the Little Corporal as a compliment. Is that this commanding general was one of them, and he was called the Little Corporal for a reason. It was not because he was short. It was not to be demeaning or anything else. But he was called the Little Corporal because the troops respected him. They respected him as a non-commissioned officer, not just as a general, but they felt that
you have to go see it.
Don't
let me talk you out to it. Joaquin Phoenix plays Napoleon. Joaquin Phoenix is an incredible actor. So it was, go see it. It's 2.5 hours long.
Now, I'm not going to go to the movies. To go in a dark room.
Now, there were about 8 people in it with us.
300 other people.
Anybody was there.
It's not. Yeah, it's not really my gig.
Yeah,
but Ridley Scott is a hell of a director. I mean, he did Alien. He did. I mean, I think he did.
He did. He's done great
Terminator,
movies.
didn't he? I mean, just fantastic movies. And Joaquin Phoenix is a hell of an actor. I will wait for it to come out so I can download it because I just don't like being around that many people. But since you stole my closing thought, asshole, I'll just say if you like what you heard, please like and share us on the socials. Hopefully this show was better than the last one. The last one was is totally my fault. I was on 3 hours of sleep. I'm sorry. It was bad. It was just bad. My jokes didn't land. It was just bad, and I apologize for it. But if you like what you heard, please like and share us on the socials. If you don't like what you heard, please inflict us on your enemies. I'm Dave Roberts. I want to give a big thank you to Ken Poland, my part of this endeavor, and to Eric Cumby, our editor, who is on vacation time right now. So he's gonna give up his time with his parents and all that stuff to edit this. Big thanks to him, and we'll talk to you next week.
I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Catch me howling at the moon.